had to make the tracks as great as they could be. And I was lucky to work with just the most talented engineer, just great people, great musicians. So I had so much support around me. And then once we got the first 4 or 5 songs, she could hear what it was turning into and got excited. And when she got excited, she's like, okay, I'm coming to LA and I'm booking myself there for 6 weeks. And we're going to get the band and we're going to cut the rest of the songs live on the floor. And then all of a sudden we were like sailing out to sea with some velocity. And it just was that beginning of believing and, you know, not giving up and knowing that it could be great.
Right. Well, congratulations on the Grammy nomination for it, because I think you've come through with what you wanted to do.
Yeah, it's amazing, too, because I just found an email from her. I think it was written either end of 2009 or beginning of 2010, way when this was a germ of an idea. And I said, I've been up all night listening to Christmas songs on iTunes. Here's my list, and I wrote a list, and I think 2 of the songs on that initial list ended up on the record. And she was like, "This is gonna be great. This is gonna turn into something. I have no brain space for this now, but we'll sit down and we'll go over the list." And that was just all it was in the beginning, was a spark of enthusiasm. And I remember that day listening to iTunes. My objective was, I don't want to just make another Christmas record. You know, what's wintry that isn't a normal Christmas song? And it was fun research. Yeah.
Well,
so,
I want to share with you that I've been a big fan of your mom's for a long time. Loved her music, always have. And a couple of years ago, back in July of 2011, my boyfriend I was seeing at the time, he passed away unexpectedly, and about 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 days after he passed, he had 2 older sisters, and one of his sisters came up to me at the cemetery, and she handed me an envelope, and it had a letter inside. And she had found the lyrics to your mother's song, Now and Forever, online, and she had typed those lyrics onto, a piece of paper and gave that to me. It was in the envelope. Because she, his family loved me and I loved them, and it was very, very mutual. And so I thought that was such a heartfelt, gesture. And ironically, that was one song by your mother that I had never heard until, so as soon as I left there, of course, I came home, I, Googled it, I found it online, and I listened to it, and I could not believe, how fitting it was for that moment. And so it really has come to mean a lot to me, that song in particular, because of what happened in my life. But I wanted to pass that along to you because your mom is a phenomenal songwriter, and she's just a terrific artist, and I've always loved her music. Everything she's done has just been, it's been so, so wonderful. And so, I just wanted to share that with you because that song really came to mean a great deal to me.
Great. I'll have to look it up. I don't know. Familiar with that one offhand, so I'll look it up.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know that it was in A League of Their Own. It was featured in that motion picture soundtrack from that movie. And I don't know. I've been a music mogul and fan my entire life. I don't know how that song got by me, but it's a beautiful song. It's beautifully written. The words are just very, very, well crafted, and it's about 2 people in love and finding the love of your life, and it's beautifully written. I mean, that's the only way I could sum it up, but it's a great song. So yes, you should you should definitely check that out. And I also wanted to ask you, now that you produced an album for your mother, do you think you would do this again in the future with her?
Yeah, I absolutely would. I don't think she's going to be up for doing it this year. So, yeah.
Well, I was wondering, on one of the songs that caught my eye and that you included in the album was the Hanukkah prayer. How did you come up with an idea to make that into a song?
Well, it's something that I had heard generationally in my life. My father, my grandparents, my mother knew it, and I always felt that it was very musical, and I never knew the words. I never knew the Hebrew. I was never someone who went to Hebrew school. I wasn't bat mitzvahed. I wasn't someone who spent a lot of time in that world. I felt like my religion was music, was pop music. And then when I had children of my own, I suddenly felt a little lacking in that, this was their heritage, and I knew little about how to pass it down to them, and I didn't even know how to sing the song or what the words meant or what the words were when Hanukkah came. I mean, I had memorized it phonetically, like 5-year-olds memorize words phonetically, and I could get a little bit into it, but that was it. So I can't remember how it came about, but I just heard the melody. I heard her do it, and I said, "Yeah, I got to record you doing that." And I just put a click track and a drone. It was just because it's all. It's all over one chord. You can do it over one chord. It's a meditative chanting sound. So I did that. I got a click track and I played a chord and got a couple of takes of her singing that. Then she left town. Maddeningly, I lost that file for a long time because I didn't label it properly. I think we were working on another song, and I had the idea while we're in the middle of another song, and I probably recorded it at the end of that song and never labeled it its own thing. I mean, I've learned my lessons now about that, but I was fortunate that I had someone working for me. I said, "Can you please go through my entire drive and find this?" And she did. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I was working with Lee Carere, who does a lot of great arrangements, and he particularly, what's really special is that he's a horn player. So not only does he play every instrument and write and produce and arrange, but he plays horns, so he'll sit next to his recording and have all these horns, like a French horn, a trumpet, and just, press play and record and do one part, double it, play another part, double it, play another part, and then before you know it, you've got these incredible horns on things. So, I brought it to him and I said, here's what I'm hearing around this vocal. I'm hearing, and I just described what it was. I wanted a Bill Evans, kind of Miles Davis, jazzy thing that was like an Exodus almost. And he came up with those chords, and, then it became multi-generational. Then my son, who's, an amazing musician, he was 8 at the time. He sung a part, I sung a part, she sung a part. So it was a real homage to, I have a barking beagle here in California. So, yeah.
He's singing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wondered if the grandson that was on there was your son. So that's pretty cool that you all three got to do that on the one song. I mean, that must have been pure joy for your mom.
Yeah, it was, and for me too, because, as long as I've had kids, my kids, have seen me make records. I mean, when the first son was born, I put out a record on DreamWorks, and, he got to see me do some shows, and, he's in a video. He has a very young baby for a second. And I was always, making music, and they'd be hearing it in the car, and they'd see me fit at the piano, and they'd see me pick up a guitar. So it was really nice for me to be able to bring that influence in, just of my own household, which is very artistic and musically expressive.
Are both of your sons musical or just your one?
Oh, both of them. They're
both
incredibly musical. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll be hearing some hit records from them shortly, right?
I don't think shortly, but Before you know
you
it.
could always get them on the Disney Channel. That's where the kids do a lot of their singing, so that would be good if they were interested in it, of course.
Yeah. Well, as much as you have done in your respective career, from producing, writing, and performing, what aspect of that do you prefer the most, that you enjoy the most?
Oh, it hands down songwriting. That's just that's the assigned job from the universe. The other stuff is more about, getting a gig, performing, all that. That's all more work. And it is, going back to the tennis pro metaphor with what you love, for example, doing gigs and making records is something that with practice you can just get good at. If you keep practicing it, you make mistakes, you take the feedback, the attitude that it's feedback rather than failure, that you just take that information and you go, oh, I want to do it this way next time, or maybe I'll try coming at it from a different angle. And I've just, by virtue of doing it so long, I just got to a point where I felt I know what to do. And I know what to do, yet I still have that wonderment and that mystery of, I don't know how this one's going to work out, but what I'm hearing is it'd be really fun to put bass on this, and it'd be really fun to, try a harp on top of it, whatever it would be. Each song is its own mystery to unravel arrangementally. So playing live and making records and singing and playing an instrument are all things that get honed with practice. The same with songwriting, but songwriting has a different dimension for me, which is a spiritual one. It's like going to church. It's like writing in your journal. It's like talking to your therapist. It's like talking to, your best friend about something deep. It just is a way to heal. I think songwriting is a path of self-discovery, and at the same time, what's so great about it is it helps other people. So when I hear a great song, it puts into words something that I may not know how to put into words, but it's accessed this part of my heart and DNA that, there's a certain Aretha Franklin records, or you just can't capture it any other way. So, in answer to your question, is songwriting keeps me alive and, believing in a greater influence, a greater hand in life than my own personal plan, which is never very, can't see really beyond the next week most times.
Well, I kind of feel that way in a way. When I'm sad, I seem to write poetry more than if I'm happy. And it's a way to release what I'm feeling inside, or discover what I'm feeling inside and move past it. And, a lot of people share their feelings like that with other people when they write their poetry. So it's kind of a healing process, too. And I could see, songs are like that as well. So
yeah. I'm glad you have that.
Thank you. It just all of a sudden came to me one day and never left me. So I'm happy to have it. I was wondering, you've worked with many great people like Jackson Browne, and toured with Tears for Fears and David Gilmour of Pink Floyd, and that. If you could choose musicians to work on a song like We Are the World, who would you choose to be in that group?
Well, I actually once did something like that in London. It was something to save the forest, and it was just like We Are the World. It was a huge studio full of celebrities, and frankly, I forgot that I had done it, and then somebody showed it to me on YouTube. I almost died. I went, oh my God, there's so-and-so, and there's so-and-so, and there's me. I barely remember being there. I actually had a couple lines that I sung on my own, either before or after Kate Bush, and I'm going, what? I don't remember doing any of that. So who would I choose? I mean, there's like 30 people on those records. Are you asking me what 30 people I would choose?